Hi, my name's Karen Wheeler and I'd like to show you what I'm doing. You're looking at my desktop. I have a version of Quilt Path 3.0505 and also you're looking at YouTube. I have a channel there and you can go there and find more about Quilt Path. Also APQS has that. It has a link or two to some other places that have help on Quilt Path too. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Quilt Path itself. It's right over here on this icon. There it is. I'm going to double click it. It should come up and say something about simulation mode, warning me, and that's okay. Quilt Path does not have to be opening on top of YouTube. It's just I wanted to show you that, and I'm planning to put this on YouTube anyway. Now, right now, I just go into Design and Create Pattern. And I get this screen that looks, like that. It's a Design and Create Pattern screen. You can change it so there's no grid at all. If the grid distracts you, it's up there under Background. And you can see it's clear, and it turns clear. Anyway, to import anything, you must have the files in a folder that you can find, but they need to be unzipped, which is uncompressed. And you see this thing that says plugins at the top right? If you click that once, there is an import. I clicked it, and it opens a new window. The new window has what's called folders. They look like little buttons. And it also has what looks like a C:, this is the Quilt Path Patterns location. It always starts up in continuous lines. Basically, I keep all my patterns in something else, in a place called Backup Patterns. And I have stuff in there you can sort of see, purchased and imported. So all the ones that need to be imported are in this one. You can keep yours wherever you want. I have originals and patterns for import. Here's my patterns for import that I know I need to do. I have at least 27, so this is a good start. I'm going to start with the one called Angel Edge to Edge, and it's a QLI. So I click it once, then I come down under here where it has the name of it, and I highlight that name, and it pops up with this sort of, it's sort of a interface, a touch keyboard interface. It often does that, and I highlight the name, and I say right click on it and say copy. You can also use shortcuts. Then I hit enter and import. So I'm importing that angelfish. And I don't know if you can actually see it very well, but it's in sort of the optimization window to start with. You're thrown right into that. You can actually have it trace and check for breaks. And I'm going to do that right away. Check for breaks and animate stitching. You can watch it go through its stitching. And it looks like an angelfish. Then it says, do you wish to connect your first and last points? And the answer is no. I want this continuous. If I connect the first point and the last point, then it will no longer be continuous. Alright, so now I'm done, and I didn't even have to do that. I could have just said OK down here at the bottom, but I sort of wanted to see it outline itself. And there's several more options to do. You can flip the beginning and the ending. You can't really change the scale or anything. You can zoom in on it though. You can't edit it in here, but you can sort of flip the beginning and ending. I say okay. Now it's going to throw up something and it says save pattern. You can tell it says save pattern by the top of this window. So the top of your windows will give you a clue when they pop up as to what you're supposed to do. And it thinks it's importing, remember? And it is importing. So now your choices are to put that fish, angelfish, wherever you want. And I always, usually, I'm not saying always, but sometimes, I mostly put things back in the imported place. I have going back into there, into the purchased imported. And if I'm doing a lot of these, then once I've set it up one session, it seems to remember that all my imported ones are to go in this one folder and everything like that. Now right now, it seems to default to the one that's in the top left, and it'll put the file name down here, but all I have to do is click once, erase this file name, I hit the backspace, and paste in my angelfish name. See that? I don't have to enter the GPF. I'm just keeping the names the same as the original file. And all I have to do is hit save. Now it comes in and it's saved already, and you'll notice these red nodes. The nodes buttons up here, I can turn them on and off. Now the nodes are turned off. Now the nodes are turned on. It's a toggle switch. This is the design mode of Pattern CAD. I can rescale it in here and all sorts of things. I can edit it. I can also go back into the optimize up here and flip it and all sorts of things. There's all sorts of things I can do over here with it. Once it's selected, I can go in and, you know, copy it and make a copy of it and flip the other one or anything. Make a whole string of them if I want. But I don't need to make a pantograph with this since it's continuous. So I'm done with the importing of this. It has been saved because I gave it a name, and it's been saved to that folder of my imported. So now I can just import another one. So I hit import, plugins and import, and it will go back to patterns for imports. See that? And that's where I keep my patterns that I want to import. And now it says I have 2 pages of them, and it looks like I only have 3 files, but if I go and I scroll up, I'll see my other files. So I want to go into Appleseed Panto. And remember, I'm going to copy this name. So I have the same name as what I started with. And import. And that's what Appleseed Panto looks like. I will hover over it a little bit, and you can sort of see it flash, and maybe you can see it better that way. It starts in the lower left and it ends in the lower right, and they're on the same plane, so I know it's going to outline just fine. Right now, if I do this though, I animate for stitches and check for breaks. You can watch it while it outlines it and see how it's going to look. And does it still want to connect those things? And I say no. Okay. So now I just say okay. And it looks like it's asking me to save it. You see the word save pattern? And it's going to the place purchased imported, where that is where I put these things. So I just click here and say paste. And it's called Appleseed Panto. And then I hit save. And it still looks like the fish is there, but soon this comes in and replaces it. You can also clear the pattern that's in here if that bothers you time after time. You see there's actually a red X there that'll clear just anything you got in there. But I don't see any sense in clearing one. They're not adding to each other or anything like that. Okay, so now you've just got how to import patterns. I've done 2 of them. I can keep doing that. I don't have to do anything to this. It's saved and I can use it right away. It's in a GPF format. It's even saved a little bitmap with it, so I can sort of, when I go into select pattern, which is up here in the top, and you see I've got all these patterns, I can kind of scroll through and I can find maybe something that looks like, oh, that I just imported. These are a lot of patterns, 3,000 or more, but I'm planning on, I've got a database for them now, and see there is a fish here already. I digitized that one once, and it was when, oh, here's the angelfish. So the angelfish, I just say open, read pattern, see the top left? So it's just looking in my imported folder, since it's figured out sort of that I want to work in that one. And it'll do that if you work in one folder. It will tend to try to save stuff in there, or if you read patterns from one folder and write to a different folder, it'll also keep track of that. Pretty good. So all I do is hit OK when I've clicked on the angelfish. Open, excuse me. There's the angelfish back, you see? And I won't go into more things. I just wanted to show you that now that they're imported, you don't have to re-import them each time or anything like that. We can actually get out of this one. And it says save current pattern. There's no need to. I didn't make any changes. But let's say I want to make a pantograph of that. We'll just pretend like we're sewing, and I'll just click these two things here. And it's got our width and everything, and I'm going to switch to basic. And I'll select my pattern right quick. And remember, it was up about 3 or 4 of these. I don't know. I thought, there it is. There's our new pattern. It's called angelfish. Okay, now notice angelfish came in big, and I'm not worried. Right now it says one pattern, one row, and it's 80 by 76. I'm not going to quilt that. So all I do is I hit the number of patterns I want to cross. So let's say I want about 10 of these. Up pops a window. And they look pretty distorted, don't worry. I'm going to hit rows 10. The reason I know that'll work is it's sort of a squarish almost pattern. So if I do 10 by 10, pattern height's 8, pattern width is, you know, almost 8, and row height's almost 8. So now I've got something that's more reasonable, but it isn't anything like the pattern that I saw when I downloaded it. I don't know if I have an example of that printed out here. I've gone through a lot of printouts last night of stuff. This looks like it right here. Okay, here's the angelfish edge to edge, and this is what they ended up with when they nested it. So it looks like they offset it just a little bit. And it's by Christy Dillon at mycreativestitches.net. So let's go. And, whoops, yeah, we're working on a PC. I'll select alternate. I've got the alternate one selected now. And I'm then going to go shift them over. So I'm going to set my step to big. And I'm going to go and hit this right thing. I'm just going to hit it a few times, and you'll see them moving over. And I'm still not getting them kind of nesting upward. And I think what I have to do is increase my pattern heights for the whole thing. But I've shifted them over, and I'll select none, or all, excuse me. And then I just change my, I think I need to change my row, my pattern height. We'll do 10. Yeah, now that's getting it more like this one looks. I want you to see that. So the fin goes up into the other fin of, yeah, up into the other fin. So they curl together. That's looking pretty close. They may be a little big, and I can make more rows, but that's giving you an idea of how you can get it to work. And if I like this, I can just say save and print. Excuse me, save and sew, or quilt as rows. I often do that, and then it will send it to the machine, and it will sew it. I can save it as a file up here. See that save button? When I hit that, oh, and remember down here is the total height and width is about 80 by 76, and I'm using the angelfish edge to edge. So now I have something called quilts or something like that, or pantos. Yeah, I have something called that. So In there, you can see I have a few pantographs I've worked on, and I have other places where I store them. I just click down here and up it pops, and if I paste, oh, I get the apple seed, so let's don't do that. I can look down here and it says angelfish. I'm going to name it same thing as the file itself, but I'm going to give it the 80 by 76. Excuse me. I've been pretty sick lately. And I'll save it right there. And that will be saved, and when I need to move the file over to my... I'm on antibiotics. What is it that they said I have? Sinus infection. Yeah. I can save that file, I just did. When I need to move that saved pantograph over, and I need to change it a little bit for my new quilt, which might be littler or bigger or whatever, I can just change it, and it will keep most of the formatting, wrapping, and everything like that pretty good. So instead of trying to compose it over there standing up at the machine, I often come over here to my PC and compose some of these things, then take them over there with the USB. I find that, now, if you had wireless or something else set up, which we do not because we live in a dense populated suburban area of San Francisco, East Bay, well, then, and it's not exactly safe to do that, then you could probably wirelessly send this to your tablet, and there's no reason why you can't do that. The other question I heard was, well, why can't you download files into your tablet directly, such as these QLIs and stuff like that? There's no reason you can't. I would make sure that you have some virus protection on it and keep it up to date before you do stuff like cruise the internet with that tablet. It's probably not the best thing to do with it, is what I would suggest for issues until you understand all that and get it fixed such that no one can kind of hack into it. You don't want your one tablet that is being used for Quilt Path to actually be compromised. So you're trying to protect it a bit. Okay, so now you're basically able here to even do imports. The plugins will do an import. It'll also do something called Virtual Long Arm. Virtual Long Arm does things like, see the little segmented piece to it? The machine has some breaks in it. It's implying that your neck to your machine isn't big enough and your pattern needs to be split somewhere so that it can go ahead and do part of it and then do the next part of it when you roll it. So it's a way to get it to split your patterns that are bigger. And I do have one or two patterns that are huge. They're like for whole cloth quilts, and that would be where I might split it in this virtual long arm before I even take it over to the tablet. I believe, though, when you're in this Panto Stacker, that's the name of this thing we're working in now, which really includes a lot of things in it, and I believe you're best off just playing with some of them. We're not going to import anymore. I think once you learn that, and then there's an export. I've done that before, but it doesn't export to very much. Let's hit it and see what it does. I think it's going to try to export the whole thing that we have here as a, I don't know, bitmap or something like that, a JPEG, if I recall. Oh, here we go, yeah. Okay. So we'll give it an XYZ name. That's fine. Enter. And I guess these are the choices I could go out as. QLI, maybe. There's no GPF. And I guess it's exported this as XYZQLI. If I want to look for it, there's our angelfish pattern. Remember I said you'd be able to move that? See, it's in the Pantos directory. And that would be Quilt Path Patterns Pantos. And it's this angelfish 80 by. So it's very easy to understand. And all these things at the top are just folders. And all the folders for the patterns are found in the patterns in the Quilt Path folder. So Quilt Path folder can have a lot of stuff in it, but mostly what you're going to look in and mess with is what's in patterns. Yeah, and now I'm in patterns, and you can see there's fonts in there, and you know, there's a few sets of patterns. You can keep this however you want. I kind of like to keep all my patterns in one folder. That way the sets are kept together. I'm thinking about reorganizing it someday, but I haven't got around to it. When you have this many patterns, I'm not going to organize them. That way I keep a database of them. So anyway, that's kind of, I'm trying to show you how to navigate around it. If you need to kind of find another place where you keep files, such as the downloads path or something, you can use this. You can hit New Drive right there. And I know that most of my download stuff is in this C drive. And so if I hit C, it'll go to C. And I can look at my Windows C : place. And you know, I have program files, I have temp, I have recovery, Quilt Path 02, update 30505, another Quilt Path, you see. And I may, documents and settings, you know, I can go in anywhere in here. And it won't find anything unless they're Quilt Path stuff. So that's the problem. It doesn't help you much. It's not Windows. You can move files, though, around, but it is much easier to move them with Windows. And I will tell you, I'm just going to close this now. There is a little button at the top, and I'm trying to hold it and show you. There's a little red button at the top to get out of this. It'll say, do you wish to save your design? And I have already saved it. And you can say yes or no, it doesn't matter. If you say yes, it'll come up with, oh, what do you want to save it? And I can hit cancel. So, I've already saved it. Now, if I was about to sew, I could just hit Pantograph. I could bring up that angelfish thing that is the whole layout, and it would start sewing it. Do you understand? It wouldn't take very much time at all. I could just move it over to my machine. I haven't had to stand up or anything, which is great. That's the best I can give you on this right now, and that's a pretty good tutorial on importing, isn't it? Take care.